Hello, everyone. Hello and welcome. I'm so excited about this live interview that we have going on today. I can't wait for it to get started. We're going to be joined by Michelle Ohana, and she is such a sweetheart. Such a very important gift that she has that she will be sharing with us, and that is the power of your story and how to better connect with yourself and connect with others. So if you're just joining us, welcome. My name is Isabelle. I'm your health and wellness coach, and I am excited to get going with this. I just wanted to let you know that we are starting live right now, but we will have this on replay. So if you have added questions for Michelle, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and we're just going to kick back and enjoy ourselves and all be together. Now, thanks for joining, Jacqueline. I see you there, and all the wonderful ladies that are being added. I also see that Michelle is online, so let's get started. Let's see if I can just add you like this. Very easy. And she should be joining us in just a few moments. Here she comes right
Hello.
now. There you are. It's so nice to have
Hi.
you. Thank you for
Nice
joining
to be
us.
here. Of course, my pleasure.
And Michelle is from, well, it depends where you live, but she is quite a ways away. She is from Berlin, right?
Well, I'm from California, but I live in Berlin right now. Yeah.
See, I did not know that.
Yeah.
You moved to Berlin?
Yes, a couple years ago with my husband, we thought it would be an adventure.
And has it been?
It has been for sure. Learning German is not easy.
No, but I've heard that it's pretty close to English. So when you master the English language, it's pretty doable. What do you think?
No, I
Not so
don't think
much.
so. It's the toughest language I've learned for sure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very grateful that you're here. I know it's pretty late down there, and I'm very grateful. And I know the ladies that are watching are going to get so much out of it. And
Aw.
now you are a heart-centered story coach. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, it's really hard for me to give myself a title. I'm an intuitive. Yeah, I coach people in stories, mostly women, entrepreneurs. Yeah, I coach them through the stories they're telling themselves to overcome any blocks they have or limitations that they have from achieving their true desires. I help them uncover what their desires really are. And then from that place, I know which stories they need to share to connect with their ideal clients in their marketing. But it's really the deeper work that's the most powerful that I love so much.
Isn't it so very true?
Yeah.
And everything always comes back to that, no matter all the efforts that we put into anything, when it is working well inside, everything outside seems to work so much better. Now, I got to know you when I participated on your online challenge, and I learned so much. And then we went on and we did do a little bit of work one-on-one together, and it was definitely eye-opening. I really enjoyed it. And one of the things I found challenging is it pushed me so much out of my comfort zone, because as a woman and as a coach, we do not often take the spotlight or put the spotlight on our emotions. We have a tendency to kind of pass it off to someone else. And you were really telling us to dig deep and let who we are come out. I'd love to hear a little bit more where that all comes from, and a little bit about you and your story.
Well, I guess that's funny because that's all connected where that comes from. I mean, I've always been a free spirit, and I've always worn my heart on my sleeve. But when it came to talking about my career, there was a point in my life where I was feeling sort of ashamed for where I was at. So it all started, this whole journey into helping people with story was when I was giving a talk at UC Berkeley one day about my career that I had as an animator at Pixar. I wasn't working at Pixar anymore, but they wanted to hear about my career, and I said, sure, I'll go. And, I remember just walking in there, and I'm staring at all these students in this amphitheater style seating, and every single seat is filled up, and the light is in my face, and I'm sweating, and I have just shown them my reel of my work. And they're all wide-eyed, and they're like envious of my shiny looking career, but what they don't know is what's terrifying me. And that is that I never really liked being an animator, and I'm unemployed right now. And I'm thinking, wow, they're probably thinking like, why is this chick here? And I'm trying to tell them about, all the movies I worked on, and, like from the place that made Toy Story and The Incredibles. And I'm talking about seeing movie stars walk by. And then I'm like, you know what? This just isn't real. This isn't me. I feel like a fraud. And so before I know it, I just come out with it. And I start talking about the truth. I just blurt out the truth. And I'm saying, you know what? Yeah, I was at Pixar, but I didn't, my heart wasn't in it. Every day I would sit at my desk and think, this is not me. There's something more for me out there. And that is so hard for me to accept, because this is the career that every animator wants. And here I am, and I'm not happy. And I left. I left because I couldn't produce good work anymore because I was so unhappy. And I followed my heart. And so here I was giving this talk to these students at a business school, and I'm like, they're probably thinking, why is this chick talking to us who's unemployed right now? And because I was like, you know what, I don't know what I want to do with my life, and I'm animating and I'm doing some cool projects, but I'm not really sure where this is taking me. And I just told them how I was feeling. I told them my struggles. And then it was silent. And I was so scared, and I'm sitting there thinking like, oh my God, somebody say something. And then this one kid in the back row raises his hand. He's like this surfer dude looking kind of guy. He has this like blonde hair, and he raises his hand. And I'm like, yes. And he says, so it like sounds like you kind of do whatever you want, and that's like pretty awesome because you seem really happy, and I was feeling really discouraged because I didn't really know what I wanted. And he went on to say like how I inspired him by telling him my story, and I was like, great. I just like totally impressed Spicoli, but like some surfer dude. But I mean, then after that, like all these other kids start raising their hands, and they're all telling me about how my story inspired them to be able to follow their hearts. And they're asking me all these questions, and no one asked about Pixar. No one cared about that. What they wanted to know was how I had the courage to follow my heart. How did I know what that little voice was inside of me? When are you supposed to listen to that voice?
Yeah.
And I realized in that moment the power of authenticity.
Yes.
And the power of vulnerability.
Yes.
And the power of sharing your story to inspire others. And I had never felt so lit up in my life. I was beaming. My heart was so open. And just seeing the effect that I could have on these students, like some of them told me I changed their life. I gave them permission to follow their hearts.
Yes.
And there was nothing like that feeling for me. And so I came home that night and I told my husband, I said, now I know what I want to do with my life. I want to inspire people.
Yes.
And so I created this business originally to help others learn how to tell their story, because that's my gift, is I know what stories you need to tell to inspire others. But then it went deeper than that. And I also have a gift to see the stories you're telling yourself. Like I can see your whole life and how it's shaped who you are now and what your perception of yourself is now. And I see how it's all connected to everything, to your business, to your relationships. And I see where it's coming from, and I know how to make people go there and heal from that. I see their desires, I see their limitations. And so I kind of combine the two things, and we do the deeper work first, and then we bring out their stories and their marketing. And it's been really successful and so powerful. So that's what I do.
I really love this story. You know, Michelle, you've told this story before, and I've listened to it, and each time I get something new out of it. And I have to say, it really touched me this time. And this time when I heard your story, I really heard you say, and it echoed in my mind, being real, being honest, being authentic, being open, and being the person, the woman that we are. And it doesn't matter if you're talking to kids or a surfer dude or a woman of 60 years old. It doesn't matter who we are, because we always have a story that can help and uplift another person. Because basically we're very a lot more similar than sometimes we think. I know that I work with a lot of women who feel they are apart, you know, isolated from all the other women. They either think other women have better careers, or they have a bigger family and they don't have any children, or they're overweight, or on the opposite end, they can't gain weight, so they're very small, or have small breasts or small legs, and they feel isolated. And as soon as, like you said, they start opening up and sharing, it's like a beautiful flower that blooms. It's amazing. I love that. And I love the idea that you're diving deeper to see how that's connected. Talk to me more about that. That's very interesting. How did you find out about this beautiful gift?
Well, it's something that I've always had, that I was born with, but I didn't realize it was a gift, because when you're born with something, you don't realize that not everyone else can do what you can do, right?
That's
it's sort
true.
of like, I was also born with with a really great like artistic ability, but you know, it always came very naturally to me. So I didn't understand what it was like to not have that. So it's like whatever talents you're born with, you know, you don't understand that like not everyone has it, right? And so it took me starting to coach people on their marketing to realize that, okay, I'm not a copywriter. Like, I don't want to just coach people on how to tell a good story. Like, I'm good at that. I'm gifted at that. But there's deeper work that I'm being called to do. And then I started to see how everything is connected in their lives. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I'm talking to people, and like, they don't see what I see. And this is very deep stuff. And I, of course, did this work myself years ago, when I was dealing with my own wounds and the stories we tell ourselves and how to rewrite those stories, but also really feeling into when those things happened, feeling into the wound when we made those decisions about who we are, and that's how you heal from it. Yes. I realized that I always take people through that journey. I have friends that tell me that I've changed their lives just by being friends with me, because I can see as soon as I meet someone, as soon as I tap into their energy, I can see where they're limiting themselves, and I can see what they truly want. So I can see if you truly want love, but you're telling yourself that you don't, and I can see where that comes from. You know, just by talking to people. And what I've noticed is that with my clients, I have them write stories initially that come to them about certain things. And from reading what they write, I can see how they're limiting themselves as well. So that's very telling. Like, from their stories, I can see what's going on. And it's like all connected. It's really cool. And that's how my brain works. Like, I see everything like a movie, and how everything just works together. And so, I've kind of created this like healing modality. Well, I mean, I'm sure it already exists, you know, whatever you want to call it, but I've created my own way of marketing through healing first, and then marketing from that place. Because what I've realized is you can share stories, you can do whatever kind of marketing you want, but if you haven't done the deeper work, you're not going to get anywhere, because you don't really know what you're offering, right? You're not really confident. And so your stories are going to be different after you've done this work. And it's going to come from like a more powerful place. And that's what I realized. So I'm just sort of creating my own way of marketing that's been working really well.
And I love that, because you're embracing your uniqueness and you're helping others do that. Now, is there something that you could share with everybody that is listening, something that they could start doing right now, regardless if they want to bring this to creating a better business or creating a better family environment, or just learning a little bit more about self-love and working on their story? Where could they start? With what could they start with?
Excuse me. Well, it's different for every person. So I guess, where do you feel like you're limiting yourself or holding yourself back, or what is not working in your life? Sorry, excuse me, I have to cough. So I think it starts there, like what isn't working for you. But really, it's about getting an outside person sometimes to see it, because when you're living it, it's really hard to see it yourself.
Yes.
Or just talking to a friend about it and about what you're going through, that really helps, like sharing stories. But just looking at your life and ask yourself, what memories do I have? Like, what is the story I'm telling myself? So, for example, like let's say you have a business and you're not getting many clients, but the ones you do get, maybe they're not paying you very much, or you're just giving away free coaching calls. Let's say you're a coach, right?
Yes.
And so maybe your story is, I'm not enough. Maybe you don't think you're enough. And so that's the story that's been playing out your whole life. And so the way that would look in your life is, I'm not enough to ask for money for my services. I'm not enough, so I'm not going to ask for what I want in my relationships because I'm not worthy enough, right? So maybe it looks like stuffing down your feelings in your relationships. I'm not enough in every area of your life, right? It shows up. You might even have a job where people don't appreciate you because you don't believe you're enough. So it's about finding that story, like what is the story I'm living out? Because as human beings, we want more than, if you're living from this, in this unconscious space and not aware of what you're, the stories
Coming
you're living.
from lack, yeah.
So what we want is to be right. More than anything, we want to be right, not wrong. And so if you're telling yourself you're not enough, you're going to keep creating that in your life so that you are right about who you are.
Yes.
And so what we do is we find where that comes from. Like, what moment in your childhood did you decide that you weren't enough? It could have been an argument that your parents had that made you feel like you weren't enough. And you decided in that moment that you're not enough. And then you created that in your whole life. And that story has been running your life. And it's, it really is really hard to, when this happened for me, when I realized the stories I was telling myself, it's really hard to come to this awareness, because you're like, wow, I've been letting this run my life, and I thought that's who I am. And if that's not who I am, then who am I?
Yeah.
And then something really powerful happens, because when you release that story and you know where it comes from and you're like, that's not me, then you realize, well, I can be whoever I want. And then you realize whatever desire you had deep down inside of you that was covered by that perception, once you strip that perception of yourself away, whatever desire, whatever you truly wanted inside but never admitted to yourself, that actually is you. And you can be that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I've
Yeah.
realized as well that, I don't know if you get this question, but sometimes, quite often actually, I get clients, women that come back and say, but I've already worked on this and it was fine. And now I just discovered something new. And then I remind them, I go, it's just like peeling a beautiful onion, and inside is the beautiful fruit and the beautiful flower. And you will never be faced with anything that you can't handle. And we take off one layer at a time. You let those emotions come up, you deal with them, and then you feel empowered and you keep moving forward. And then, yes, something else will come to the surface. And you can't deal with everything at once, but you can certainly keep, just growing on your path of life, because it is about life. It is about moving forward.
It is. And what's really key, though, is what I've noticed is you can logically understand where this is coming from, but in order to do the healing, you need to go there and feel it. Like you need to take some time and go into the memory and really feel it deep down, because when you go and do that, then whenever you're acting out of that story again, it's going to trigger that memory, and you're going to be like, oh, I'm playing out this story, and it's way easier to heal from it, like much quicker.
Yes.
Yeah, so that is really important, because some people are like, well, I know I'm acting from this place, but they keep doing it, because they never like went deep into it to feel it.
Absolutely. And ladies, I want to also add that if you don't deal with your story, then it gets, these stories kind of just go tiny, tiny, and they go into your cells, because your emotions and your whole life are connected through your body. And they will, these stories will express themselves some way. So if they don't get a chance to come out and you don't touch with them, they'll get expressed in your body. And a lot of times when, like Michelle was saying, when you tap into them and you release them and you understand that that used to be your story, it's not who you are, then you also release the pain that is stored in a memory inside your body. So it's so worth tapping into those stories and releasing them to become your more authentic and real self. Absolutely. I love that. Let me ask you a question. So let's say a person would like to talk about their story, but it's fear of talking about it, fear of being vulnerable, fear of saying those things out loud, fear of what they're going to feel once they put words and, let it out. What would you say to those ladies?
Well, it depends on where their fear is coming from. So, I would want to get to the root of where their fear comes from. But also, being vulnerable online or in front, I think the biggest fear that people have in the world is public speaking, right? And
Absolutely.
so it's just common. I'm one of those people that doesn't have that fear. I don't know why. I've always been okay speaking in front of people. But most people have an issue with it. And so when you're speaking like online in front of people, you can't even see who's staring back at you. You're looking at a camera, and that's even scarier. Right. So if you just realize that it's normal to actually be scared, that's like the first step. And then, it's really about, if you're just afraid of speaking in public, then you just have to start practicing, right? So practice in a small space. But if you're actually afraid of being vulnerable, of sharing who you are, well, then that's something that's deeper. Then we have to look at, like, why do you have this fear? Is it fear of rejection? when were you rejected in your life? Where is that coming from? You know, is it that you reject people? Is it a fear of being judged? Is that because you judge people? Did your mom judge you? Was there a time in your life that you were judged? And some people think it's actually, I mean, this is more like woo-woo, but, you know, as women, we were often persecuted for being witches, right? And a lot of people think that it still comes from that. We were burned at the stake if you were a witch or if you weren't a witch, you know, and women became afraid to speak their truths. And so women started going and hiding and not speaking up about who they are. And that's passed down. And, you know, and so a lot of people think that has something to do with it as well. And I, you know, sometimes I wonder the same thing, like why women are so powerful. We are so strong and we are so, all of us, we have this intuitive ability. We are like emotional beings, but there's also this fear of being who we are and stepping into our power and speaking our truths. And so we have to support each other in doing that and really get to the root of why we're feeling this fear. So I would just, you know, it depends on where your fear is coming from. It's really just like ask yourself, you know, what am I really afraid of? And try to think back to where it comes from. I hope that answered your question.
That's really, yes, it does. And it cuts out a little bit here and there, so I'm just hoping that everyone can hear us very well. Yeah, no, it could be on my end as well. Did it cut at all for you, or it's been working great for you?
It's been okay for me. I can check really quick if I can get a better connection if you want to wait a moment. Or do you see me okay now? Okay, one second.
I see you fine. Jacqueline. It's more verbally. Okay.
Oh, okay. One moment. I'll be right back.
I think I missed a piece of that, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on. I think Michelle is just going to see if she can get us a better connection. And I hope you're enjoying this, ladies. Now, if you have some questions for Michelle, go right ahead and leave them into the comments. I'm going to be using my iPad right now to see if you beautiful ladies have any questions. I'll be able to connect to it and see them because on my phone I don't always see them. So I'm just going to do that right now and see if we have any questions. And yes, we do have a few questions. Let me just make sure that it's there. All right. Okay, so everybody is saying actually that they're hearing you fine. So it was just me. Actually, it is.
My husband it's better? Okay, I'm sorry. There must be a lag. So I'll just let you finish talking and then I'll talk.
Okay, we should have like a little flag or something that we could wave it when we're done, because there is just a little lag, and I certainly don't want to cut you off. All right, so that was awesome. Now, personally, I know that sometimes I have been waiting to share my story because there are sometimes I don't have trouble at all sharing some deep-rooted emotions because I feel that my purpose in life is to encourage and help and motivate women to become healthy in their bodies and in their minds and in their hearts. And this being said, there are some stories that I have trouble sharing, not because I know it wouldn't be helpful, but because, and I'm going to use the word fear, I have a fear that it will hurt someone in their heart, feeling like they were the root cause of that particular lesson that I might have learned as a younger version of myself. Now, if there's any other women that this is part of their story as well, not wanting to hurt someone, how would you have them address this? Like what tip or or specific thing could help move us past this fear and let us share that story without hurting anyone unnecessarily, for example.
Well, I think it's a case-by-case basis, right? You don't want to like go and tell everyone that your mom abused you if you don't want to trash talk your mom and you've made up since then. Like, there's a very delicate line, right? It just depends on the person and on the situation.
Yeah.
But I think what's really important to think about is why are you sharing this story? Is this message going to help someone? Like, are you going to save someone's life by sharing this? Or is your story going to be a lifeline for them so that they don't feel alone? If so, then you need to make your message bigger than your fear, if that's the case. But, it just depends on who you're hurting. And, see if there's a way you can phrase it so you're not calling someone out, if that's not necessary. Yes. It just depends on who you'd be hurting. I've worked with women who didn't want to talk about certain things about their children because they didn't want their children's lives being exposed online, and that's fine. Yeah. I don't encourage people to share things that are still emotionally charged. I don't recommend that. And I don't encourage them to call people out either. So, it's a case-by-case thing. So never feel like you have to share something that doesn't feel right to you.
I'm sorry if there's a little bit of a lag there. It cuts off and on for me, so I think I'm just having issues with my internet, and I call them and they said everything is fine, so I'm not quite sure what to do with that, and I apologize to you and to everyone listening. I got most of that, but I am going to go back and listen to the replay because I know you're sharing such powerful insight and tools. So let me just recap a little bit of what we've talked about, and correct me anywhere where it needs correction. Our stories are who we are, and the stories that we tell ourselves are who it makes us become. Is that about right?
The stories we tell ourselves create the perception of who we think we are, but sometimes that isn't really who we have to be. So it's about stripping away the decisions that we made as children when we were like pure subconscious and we decided something about ourselves that didn't have to be true. And it's about stripping that away because those stories might be holding us back from living out our truths. Yeah. So it's more like
keeping it real.
Yeah.
Keeping it real, like being authentic.
Yes, it's about being authentic to you, but it's so hard to do that when you're not even sure who that is. So it's like stripping away the layers to find out who you really are inside and what you really want. Because so many people have this empty feeling inside of them that maybe they're meant for more, or maybe there's something not quite right. You need to listen to that, right? Because that's a signal that there is some way you're not being authentic to yourself. And it's not your fault. We all have this, right? And so it's just about stripping away the layers to find out who that is. And then you wake up in the morning feeling fulfilled, feeling like, wow, I know who I am. I'm amazing. I can be whoever I want. I can have anything I want. I can be whoever I want to be because I'm not being ruled by my subconscious self anymore.
Yes, so very important. It is always such a pleasure to talk with you, Michelle. I love that. And I would love for you, we'll put it in the comments for everyone, but I'd love for you to tell everyone if they want to get in contact with you, if they want to learn more about you, if they want to be part of your community, how would they go about doing that? And then when we're done, please add that to the comments so everybody in the group can, you know, just jump on with you and be part of your tribe too.
Sure, I would love that. So my website is currently being built. It's taking a little longer than I thought. So if you go to my website, michelleohana.com, you'll just see that it says coming soon.
Yes,
so
I
for
saw.
now, you can find me on my Facebook business page. It's Michelle Ohana. Or you can send me a direct message on Facebook. That's how a lot of my clients find me now. Also, I have a really awesome group called Story Magic for Soulful Entrepreneurs, so you can join there. And that's a really fun group. I talk a lot about things I believe. I've interviewed people in there. I give a lot of tips. I've done challenges. So yeah, that's a really great community, and I love all those women, and they're all so supportive and loving, and it's a really beautiful space. So yeah, you can find me in those places. So Facebook is really my my go-to right now until my website's built.
That's awesome. I'm so happy, Michelle,
and if you
that
want
you
to
took
work
time
with
to
me,
chat with
I'm
us.
so sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, there's a
Sorry,
lag.
go ahead.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
if you want to find out more about working with me, just send me a message and I'll send you the information.
Absolutely. And if any of you at any time, if for whatever reason you're having trouble connecting with Michelle, reach out to me and I'll make sure that you guys are connected some way. I'll put you together on Messenger or something like that. So it's quite easy to find Michelle, and I do encourage you to go check out her page and her group because she offers a lot of value, and it's really nice to be surrounded by a community of like-minded women where when you talk, everybody's going, yeah, it's so nice to have community. It's amazing, and to realize that we are not alone in what we're learning and what we're doing and how we're feeling. It just makes us feel more powerful as a team and as an individual, as a woman. And like you said so many times, you know, it's ingrained in us. And if we want to become everything that we know we want to be and can be, you know, it's one step at a time. And I know you can help everyone get there. So thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me. You're
Always
so
a
sweet.
pleasure. You're welcome back anytime that you want. I
Thank
do
you,
not
love.
see any questions here. Michelle, do you see anyone on your end that might have questions if they wrote questions down?
I don't.
I'm looking into my iPad right now.
I don't see any questions.
No, I don't see them either, but if there are,
I'm sure some people
I'll
are
tag
catching
you,
the
and then you
replay.
can just I have the feeling that we're
Sorry.
both talking at the same time, and then we both stop at the same time.
Technology.
The beauties of, yes, the beauties of technology. So thank you very much once again for coming in. Thank you for everything that you share, and thank you for everything that you are. I really appreciate you, and I look forward to listening to you some more on your page, and I will see all of you ladies very soon. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye.